I'm Cedric Wilson, a licensed professional counselor, LPC for short. I am also the founder and owner of Seeking Wellness Counseling Services and have been the main motivator for our therapeutic gaming program.
My name is Megan Keith. I'm an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker, and been playing games for as long as I can remember.
My name is Dr. Jacoby. I'm an assistant professor at the University at Buffalo in their school counseling program. And at Seeking Wellness, I'm the program researcher and K-12 consultant.
Welcome, Jacoby. Thank you so much for joining me today as we talk about the therapeutic gaming program. Um, Today we're just gonna go through it together. We would love to hear your insights on how we have revamped it, what that program looks like, and just to get a little bit more of your information and get to know you.
That sounds amazing.
So, just to get us started, how would you describe the therapeutic gaming program in a sentence or two?
Yeah, so simply put, I would say that the therapeutic gaming is more of a modality, right? And so it's an innovative way to engage a person or group of people using video games or tabletop games as a counseling tool.
Excellent. Okay. And so, how would you say that might differ from traditional therapy, group therapy, or individual therapy?
Yeah. So the one major difference that comes to mind for me is the aspect of active play, where us as facilitators, we are able to observe and even comment on various interactions in real time and offer some processing. Typically, with traditional group contexts, group members might bring in issues from their everyday life, um, which, ultimately relies heavily on self-report. A lot of um, anecdotes come into the counseling space, whereas you can really see somebody in real time respond to some adversity, and you can offer some supports right there in the moment.
Hmm. Okay. Um, what clinical goals are you targeting through the gaming experience?
Social skills would be the major one that comes to mind for me. When youth or even adults play video games, they can compete, they can collaborate, they can win, they can lose. And our program aims to equip individuals with transferable skills as it relates to just navigating social contexts and spaces.
Okay. What populations do you primarily work with in this program?
So at this time, for this iteration of the program, we're looking to work with high school aged folks or those who are in that young adult, maybe college age range. So anywhere from, let's say, 14, 15, all the way up to 22 at this time.
Okay. Why them in particular?
So it's important to have a group that is essentially homogenous that can relate to each other to a degree. When it comes to gaming, it's important that we are intentional about what games we are incorporating. And so there are certain games that we have identified specifically for younger age groups, and there might be um, uh, different games that have content that may be for more mature audiences. And so for this iteration of the program, we're being intentional on the individuals that we are seeking to recruit, as well as the content of the games that are being used for discussion.
Gotcha, gotcha. How did you decide on the type of game or system to use?
So this is going to be variable, and it's going to be based on group or individual goals. There's a broad structure that allows for breadth as it relates to the gameplay experiences. Each time that they individuals come to therapeutic gaming, um, they may engage in a different genre and a different title that allows for a different experience. Like I said before, we're looking for those real time opportunities to process and have those conversations. And so having a variety of different games each week makes it fresh, makes it exciting, hopefully for the those who are participating.
Mhm. Could you tell me a little bit more about the games that you chose to include in the therapeutic gaming program?
Absolutely. So at this time, we are looking at Overcooked 2. We are interested in rolling out a Fortnite variation as well. We're also interested in using Minecraft, The Sims, uh, and there may be a couple of that. Oh, and Super Smash Brothers as well. And so just using these different titles with different intention, they each kind of serve a different purpose, and each have a different draw that we can build upon.
How do you balance gameplay with your therapeutic roles?
Yeah, so I think that's when it comes to gameplay, that is going to be the forefront of what we are hoping to provide, and that's the experience that is going to really hopefully draw folks in and get folks engaged and comfortable to have deeper conversations. The therapeutic aspect follows for sure. There will be a opportunity to debrief after every session, where individuals can talk about what went well, what they struggled with, what things that they want to focus on next time that individuals meet, as well as what did they learn that they can maybe take into their real life, everyday life, as well. And so they really work hand in hand. They will go together. But again, the gameplay in itself will really serve at the forefront of everything that we do.
So, do you adapt the game mechanics to serve clinical needs?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there are going to be certain games that we are able to, the game that comes to mind is like a Super Smash Brothers. We can always tweak the settings because, although gameplay is at the forefront of what we're doing, winning isn't the only thing that we're focusing on.
Mm.
This isn't necessarily a for lack of better words, like a summer camp type of feel, where we're just focused on just having fun either. We are here to really process, to really observe some of those real time experiences as it relates to gaming, and our ability to manipulate the various programming of the video games and tabletop games even will allow for us to really engage in conversation, which is going to be the latter portion of our sessions, and will really tie everything together.
Excellent. What are the particular or specific moments in the game that tend to lead to emotional processing?
Yeah, I think two instances come to mind. The beginning of a game, like perhaps the anticipation that builds up when you are aware of your task, whatever that might look like. I think of like, for example, Mario Kart. If you see that, oh no, I'm positioned in the in eighth place before the game even starts, that can drop some anxiety. How am I going to win this race when I'm already at a disadvantage compared to the individual who was in first place? Similarly, I would say the last, let's just say 20, 30 seconds of a high intense game always draws up a variety of emotions. I can't really necessarily even point to that. Could be it can be highly intense. It can be you know invigorating. It can be it can be exciting. It can be nerve-wracking. It can be a lot of different things. So I would say the beginning and the end offer similarly those emotional moments that can lead to a very fruitful discussion.
Do players use the avatars or characters to explore parts of themselves? How do you work with
Yeah,
that?
totally. Yeah, that's a huge part of the process. In fact, very early in our session, before we even pick up any controllers, we will spend some time just discussing characters and what characters does an individual identify with, which ones do they look up to, which ones do they see themselves in, which characters would an individual like to be more like in their everyday life. And with many of the games that we are able to play, there are options for customization wherein individuals can select a base character, let's say, or, the average person knows that Mario, has is red or blue, but if those are colors that you don't really identify with, there are certain games where you can select Mario, but perhaps change the color that the Mario character wears, because this really fits me a bit more, and this allows me to express myself. And so there will be significant time allocated specifically to characterization. Yes, we're playing these games. Yes, we are um, using these avatars, but who are the individuals that are in control, essentially. Again, we want to keep the focus on the individuals that are participating um, in our therapeutic gaming.
Awesome. How would you handle in-game conflict or role play that triggers like real emotional reactions in real life?
Yeah, so we want to start with front loading. We want to start early on. Again, before we even pick up the games or the controllers, before we start playing, we want to have conversation about what happens when an individual is feeling emotionally reactive. What can they do? Maybe they need to take a moment to put the controller down um, and remove themselves from the environment or
Mhm.
just take a moment to refresh themselves. But being very intentional about how we front load not just the therapeutic gaming as an experience, but each and every week, being able to revisit and address the need to um, self-monitor when things are getting a bit intense. Again, and using that debrief time at the end, if there are some instances that come up, if there are some moments of in-game conflict that emerge, using that debrief period to really hone in and address those so that they don't um, uh, build and fester following into the next session.
Gotcha. How do you track or document the like therapeutic gains from our gaming sessions?
Yeah, so we're working on various uh, instruments and measures that we can provide to the individuals who are participating so that we can track and ensure that we are meeting their needs so that we might have to adapt anything. And so we have various forms that we're working on that we can provide kind of short, almost exit slips, so to speak, for each individual gaming session. And that will be able to look through and prepare for the next session moving forward.
Mhm. How do you process those like in-game events during the therapeutic process?
Yeah, so we will have very specific questions that are qualitative in nature, just to ask, how did it go today? And it's going to be pretty standardized so that the individuals know what to expect. But yes, at the end of each gaming session, there will be a period of asking those very standardized questions. That are going to be pretty routine after a while. It's going to feel I know what to expect, and I know where I can express myself and voice my opinion in the appropriate place. And so that will, again, take place um, as a debrief. And if there are additional needs, or perhaps, maybe perhaps I'm not comfortable sharing my experience in front of the entire group. Well, we're also figuring out how to implement perhaps an individual opportunity to debrief as well if there's something pressing that needs to be
Mm.
a concern that needs to be addressed.
Okay. What are some of the common themes that you expect to see or that you have seen doing this type of work?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to observe a similar gaming opportunity locally here in Buffalo, New York, and a couple of things that came up was this notion of commitment. And so, if you say you're going to show up to these sessions and making sure that you do, if you don't show up to the sessions, that has an impact on the group, just like any other traditional, therapy group, I would imagine. Um, but just being able to prepare your group mates for if life happens, things come up, individuals are unable to make it sometimes, and that's a part of life. And so, how as a group can we kind of overcome those feelings of abandonment, those feelings of so and so doesn't take this experience as seriously as the rest of us, and that misunderstanding. And also, I was thinking about this earlier as it relates to the characterization and bringing yourself as a gamer, as a player into the gaming space, therapeutic gaming space, is this concept of just, again, the sportsmanship. I've seen sore winners in these spaces, and it just makes it awkward. It makes it not as fun when somebody is just bragging about winning repeatedly and um, quite frankly, adding insult to injury every time that they win or eliminate another character or another player in the room. That can have a lasting impact if not addressed immediately. And so those are a couple of the things that come to mind immediately.
How do you foster psychological safety and emotional vulnerability within the group?
Yeah, so we want to enforce some group norms, some of those rules that are going to be consistent, all right? And just like any other group, we want to make sure that what happens in the therapeutic gaming space stays there. We honor that confidentiality. We're all here to grow in various aspects, and it's important to respect that. And so those group norms are ones that are going to be essentially co-created amongst the group. It's not anything that I'm going to come in or any of the facilitators are going to come in with a sheet of these are our rules, but we're going to create them and hopefully abide throughout the time. There might be some um, uh, I guess, consequences that are naturally embedded. Perhaps somebody might have to just observe if they are unable to participate in a way that is respectful to the rest of the group, and just ensuring that those safeguards are in place for all individuals to show up and their perspectives to be uh, respected. And another part of that is taking up space, and so that is going to be, ideally everyone that is involved is going to be excited and interested in these experiences, but it's also going to be important that everybody has an equitable opportunity to express themselves. If during the group debrief, even during if the group members are able to select games or select um, game modes within a specific title, right? And so it's important that everybody's voice is valued and is able to be amplified to a degree that they can have an impact, positive impact on the group.
As we think about equity, how would you support clients with different levels of social skills or neurodiversities or trauma within the group?
Absolutely. And so the different needs of the different group members are going to be individualized. They're going to be case by case. They're going to look different for each and every person. And so, circling back to this concept of an individual opportunity to meet with the facilitator, um, that is going to be where those needs can be expressed in a one-on-one nature. There's going to be space allocated to identifying for group members those social skills, those neurodiversity, those trauma related needs that might emerge, that will inevitably emerge, I should say. And we are at Seeking Wellness all about really being holistic and being um, true and authentic to the individuals that we are seeking to support and serve. And so that as well comes with a conversation that might not involve the rest of the group, quite frankly, to ensure that all of the needs are being met by all of the individuals in the groups.
What role does cultural identity play in how you run or adapt the game?
Absolutely. Yeah. So cultural identity is going to be a huge part, going even way back to characterization. It's important that players are seen as their whole self and what salient parts of themselves they hope to be recognized within the space. Um, that is something that is going to be absolutely at the forefront of everything that we do. And so, we think I mentioned Mario earlier, but there's great value in a character who identifies with perhaps Princess Peach, right? And so those conversations need to be addressed in terms of respect and honoring the various narratives, even that we walk away from. We're going to be very intentional about what's more the video game titles that we are selecting, ensuring that the all of the titles are not promoting any misogynist, any racist, sexist, you name it, underpinning messages in the gameplay because that's again not what we're about. So we're ensuring that all of our titles on all of the games that we are employing through this opportunity are going to be culturally competent and culturally sensitive, more importantly.
Have you noticed any specific group roles emerge during a session? If so, how do you address that dynamic?
Yeah, so naturally there will be individuals who will take on more of a leadership, more of the leader role. Identify, the individual who has perhaps louder voice, who makes their presence known much more in relation to others. And so it's important for the facilitators to be mindful of those dynamics as they emerge, and be able to, um, not in a punitive way, but more in a just, uh, again, a socially equitable way, be able to address that, to just allow for more space for other participants to be taken up. And so that's one that will be, that comes to mind. And there might also be a natural inclination for somebody to become more adversarial, where, no, I don't want to play this game. No, I'm not interested in this. No, I kind of want to do it my way.
Mhm.
That, similar to the leader, individuals can become a bit annoyed, for lack of better words, with that individual who is adversarial for an opportunity that is hoping and aiming to bring some fun and for some levity to life. And so again, the facilitators should be able to pick up on maybe nonverbal cues and, um, the tension that is tangible in that space. Fortunately, we have that real time um, observation of the gameplay experiences, and we can draw from that in our discussions.
It seems like you're really vigilant about what can typically be like gaming culture and curb that a bit to like what we are trying to do to make it a more therapeutic process rather than just winning or like commanding.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I love that you touched on gaming culture, because there is trash talk and that is embedded in gaming culture, and there, to varying degrees, that may be okay, and but we have to be mindful of how our words and our actions, how our disposition impact other people as well. And so, if the trash talk gets to a point where it is noticeably, or even maybe not noticeably, negatively impacting others, it's important to nip that in the bud as quickly as we can. The same way that we want to monitor what's being said on a playground, or in the cafeteria, it's important to be mindful of kind of what remarks that are being made, and how those can be negatively impacting individuals in the group.
What challenges have you encountered using gaming therapeutically?
Yeah, the one thing, and I'm glad that we're doing this interview. The one thing that comes to mind for me is, a lack of awareness of kind of what therapeutic gaming is and what it can be. Has great potential to have waves of just positive impact. It can have a great degree of potential for meeting a new friend, something as simple as that. But the reality is, therapeutic, or I guess, yeah, therapeutic and gaming are two words that have just never been put together in the way that we're trying to do it. And so there can be some fear of the unknown as it relates to anything new. And so, um, we have a lot of ideas in terms of what this can look like and how it can roll out, and how it can be a truly a, a special opportunity. The biggest challenge is getting folks to almost see the vision. And so we're excited to roll it out this year, so that we can essentially expose some of our inklings with other folks.
How do you manage boundaries between fantasy and real life, especially with our younger or emotionally reactive gamers and participants?
Yeah, it's important to check in, and it's important for them to be able to distinguish fantasy and real life. And I will say that there is a lot of um, fantasy within real life. And so, though the two are, split in your question, I will say that they go hand in hand, because adults have desires and things that they would like to accomplish, and things that, when I think of the uh, political climate of the country currently, that I can become I can get into a state of fantasy in terms of what I would like for myself and my neighbors and my family, my friends, my community to what that to look like. And it's important to, regardless of what we're doing in a video game, to be able to draw some of our actions and behaviors and our desires into our real life, our day to day. And so, if somebody is really struggling socially, as it relates to gaming, Overcooked 2, for example, if somebody is really struggling to work with their teammate, that might not be just fantasy. That might not just be a, a game based issue that they're running into. And how can we take this game that we're observing, or this issue that we're observing, and bring it into their day to day? And so those conversations again can happen at the debrief, and throughout the gaming sessions.
What ethical concerns or best practices should therapists be aware of when using games in clinical work?
Think that there's also a need to, when I think about wellness, I think about, the um, emotional, I think of mental health, but I also think of physical as well. And so I think that there's great power that comes in therapeutic gaming. Again, I think that there are so many benefits, but I think that there's still going to be a need to get up and get some exercise, to physically move your body, and I think that that is something that therapists should be mindful of when they're sending their individuals off. Like oftentimes, folks who might be interested in therapeutic gaming might be gamers themselves, might engage in this behavior, or might engage in gameplay outside of the therapeutic gaming. But it's important that we are having conversations of, okay, did you get some exercise today, or whatever that might look like for an individual. That doesn't mean going to the gym and being on a treadmill for 2 hours. It's important to just move, have some movement in the body as well. And the majority of video games at this time don't quite offer that. And so that's definitely just something that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, I'm hearing like a variety in activities that we want to balance and ensure are incorporated rather than just like making gaming the only thing that we're doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
What impact have you seen this work have on your clients?
There's a lot of research on third spaces. Oftentimes in most cases, folks can identify a home that they can go to. And then there's perhaps work or school for individuals. And then these third places are really unique in that they provide a sense of community and connectivity and belongingness for individuals. And the biggest impact that I've seen is, hey, I belong here. This is my space where I can come. I'm understood. I can express myself the way that I see myself, which is important. And that has such a positive impact on people. Just having that third space that is dependable and reliable, and that is structured in a way where they can again just be free to be themselves. That's a beautiful thing that I've noticed in this work.
What surprised you about using games and the therapeutic process?
Hmm. I've I've always thought about time management as a perhaps barrier or a challenge when it comes to this work. Let's just say you have an hour long session. How do you pivot? How, once that hour concludes, like how do we then kind of walk away from this? Um, there's a lot of stigma that video games can be addictive. A lot of people are addicted to video games. But something that really surprised me is that individuals can really look at a clock, know how much time they have, and they can almost predict, oh, that gives us, for example, we look at the time left on this particular session. A lot of folks in these gaming contexts can say, "Oh, that means that we have enough time for two more games of fill in the blank," right? Time with games again are a very integral piece in a lot of these games as well, and so that is been the biggest surprise. It's just the way in which time is really a benefit, or again, a tool within itself.
Where do you see therapeutic gaming evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. I think about telehealth and how, there was a time where I couldn't even imagine sitting down with a counselor, an interview like this, right? Thanks to Zoom. Um, the the explosion of social media and streaming and everything like that. Um, and so I think that if we think about telehealth and gaming and how those worlds are both going virtual, I absolutely can see this being more of a, you pick up a controller and I'm going to my group therapy. I think about AA and various groups that meet on a regular basis. I think that they can be just as effective if properly curated and facilitated through a more virtual setting. And so I think that the reality is that therapeutic gaming can, quite frankly, just continue to grow, and the awareness will grow with that, and folks will be more technologically savvy as it relates to facilitating these modalities for people, and others will be more open and interested in therapeutic gaming as well.
Excellent. All right, man. Well, thank you very much for joining me for this interview. We appreciate all your thoughts and insight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciated it.